Zombieing. This is another unfortunate instance of behaviour that is the preserve of the narcissist not being described as such. Zombieing is apparently a dating trend, except it's not. I'm grateful to my reader, Better Call HG, great name, who, like many of my readers, is able to now identify from my work narcissistic behaviour, even though narcissism is not mentioned. And Better Call HG referred me to an article which talks about this concept of zombieing. So first of all, what is this zombieing that is being referred to? According to the article, zombieing is when someone ghosts you, but then decides to come back into your life like nothing happened. You know how zombies die and then miraculously rise from the dead. Now, who does that sound like? Somebody who is interacting with you, then disappears, acting out of a sense of entitlement, the need to assert control, a lack of emotional empathy, and a lack of accountability, and then at some future point returns to you, pressing the reset button, acting as if nothing has happened, acting out of a sense of entitlement to return, a lack of accountability for their behaviour, a lack of emotional empathy for how this return impacts upon you, the need to assert control by engaging in a direct interaction with you, also known as hoovering. Zombieing is the behaviour of a narcissist. But as I will continue to read, you will find that this article fails to address what it actually is. And once again, it's all very well coming up with these neat terms for the behaviour, and of course they do describe the behaviour perfectly accurately in terms of it is like a zombie. But what they fail to do is tell you why it's happening, what the real reasons are for it, and who is doing it, namely narcissists. They fail to identify, as so many of these supposed experts do, that this is the behaviour of a narcissist and the problems that come with that. The article continues, "We know that ghosting can be hurtful, indeed, and a sign of someone who has little to no communication skills. Absolutely incorrect. But zombieing adds insult to injury. You're going to pretend you didn't just disappear for weeks, even months." And that shows the ignorance of this article by imposing the non-narcissistic perspective on the behaviour, thinking the individual is pretending they haven't disappeared. It shows a failure to understand the narcissistic perspective. The article continues, "Experts say people's motives for zombieing can vary. It might be boredom." No. Marla Renee Stewart, MA, a sex expert for lovers, an adult wellness brand and retailer, states, "I believe that if someone is zombieing, it's because they're finding themselves wanting to go back to a source of entertainment." You're wrong. The reason a person is engaging in this, and it's called hoovering, is because the individual is a narcissist, and the hoover is about asserting control over the victim, drawing fuel from them, and possibly character traits and residual benefits. It's not about going back to a sense of entertainment. Kate Balestreri, the founder of Modern Intimacy and expert for the relationship app Clarity, calls it attention-seeking behaviour. They want to see if they can still get a reaction. They're using it as a way to get validation if they're feeling low about themselves, says the certified sex therapist. Closer to the mark, of course, because it is about getting a reaction, and it is about getting validation. It is about getting fuel. But again, there is actually a failure to describe what it actually is. It is the behaviour of a narcissist asserting control through a sense of entitlement over a victim for the purposes of extracting the prime aims, namely fuel, character trait, and residual benefits. She continues with, "Of course, there is a kinder way to read things. They might realise that they missed out on an opportunity to get to know you, and they're hoping there's still a chance at that." Absolutely wrong. Of course, a narcissist might use that as the excuse. An unaware mid-range narcissist might use that as the reason. So you say, "Why have you come back? I've not heard from you for 2 months." "Oh, I'm really sorry," says the unaware narcissist. Got caught up in other things, and I realised, actually, this was a really good opportunity, and I've messed up. Please give me another chance. I hope we can get things moving again. And the victim will fall for it. It's nothing to do with the individual believing that they've missed out on opportunity. And writing such things is dangerous because it makes victims believe that this individual is not what they are. It causes people to think, oh, yeah, it's just someone who's a bit of a dimwit. But yeah, they could realise that they missed an opportunity. So where that victim has experienced in their own life a problem with this phenomenon, they might think, oh, the reason they came back is because they realised that they missed out on an opportunity. Oh, good. Well, I'm pleased that they did. And they invite the narcissist back in because they're not being told what is actually happening. She continues with saying, or they might be really lousy at communicating and kind of misguided. Well, they might be. That type of narcissist might be lousy at communicating, but that's not the reason why this has happened. It is because it's a narcissist. And she continues, people think they're being nice, mid-range narcissists who think they're empaths. Sometimes they reach out because they feel guilty. No, narcissists never feel guilty, and they want to see if you're angry at them or if you're okay. That is the veneer that's placed upon it. A mid-range narcissist who hoovers you will say, I hope I didn't upset you, or are you angry with me, or is everything okay? But remember, a narcissist has no emotional empathy, so we don't care whether you're well, hurt, or angry. It is just the pretense of it, and it is being done by an unaware narcissist. The article continues with, personally, I think there's a strong case to be made for ignoring the zombie trying to stagger its way back into your life. You're absolutely right. Do ignore it. But then goes on to say, a good response may be like, wow, I hadn't heard from you since you ghosted me, so it's strange to see you back. I hope you enjoy the rest of your life. At this moment, I'm not interested in getting to know you. Well, it's better than continuing the interaction, I suppose, but even that response will provide challenge fuel. You're giving fuel to the narcissist, but you're challenging the narcissist's control over you, and the narcissist will then come back at you with another hoover, saying, sorry I disappeared, yada yada, excuse given, please give me another chance, I really like you. And remember, the empathic victim's emotional thinking will be rising because they're interacting with a narcissist, which means they are more likely to fall for these further hoovers than if they just ignored them to begin with. And so, consequently, the problem with this behaviour is that this article, referencing zombieing, and the title of the article refers to it being a dating trend that's spookier than ghosting, completely misses the point as to what's going on. This is a classic dynamic involving narcissist and victim. It is a hoover. So once again, you have a situation where a behaviour of a narcissist engaging with a victim is not called what it is, and it's dressed up as this zombieing. So 1, it's not called what it is. 2, the individuals fail to identify who's involved in this. 3, they fail to detail precisely why this is happening. 4, the advice they give about dealing with it is also unhelpful, inaccurate, and going to cause further problems. If an individual has ghosted you, then that individual is likely to be a narcissist. If they then come back sometime later, this is a narcissist that's hoovering you. No matter what excuse is given, no matter what explanation is provided, no matter how plausible it sounds, you're being fed a line. Because if they had any emotional empathy, they would either have continued the relationship in a meaningful way with you, or would have explained to you at an early juncture, this isn't for me, thank you, but no thank you, and moved on. There's nothing wrong with explaining that. And someone with emotional empathy would behave that way. The individual that comes back much later, exhibiting this sense of entitlement to breeze back in, the brass neck of it, as if you wouldn't be annoyed by their sudden reappearance. But of course, most narcissists aren't aware of that because of the compartmentalization and the lack of awareness and lack of emotional empathy. And even if you point that out to them, as soon as you do, you will challenge the narcissist's control. So the narcissism will cause the narcissist to respond to you by explaining away this behaviour. So the narcissist isn't going to say, well, what happened was this. I'm a narcissist and I didn't need to get anything more from you, and there was a tastier prospect I was dealing with. So because I have no sense of emotional empathy, a sense of entitlement, and no sense of accountability towards you, I just stopped communicating with you because I don't care. And time passed, and then all of a sudden you came back on the radar. I just happened to think about you. And my narcissism said, is this person under control? And I realised that you weren't. And I thought, well, I could do with controlling them and get some fuel from them. So I sent you a text. It's called hoovering. And so now I'm going to extract the prime aims from you for as long as you're useful to me. But understand, I could go and do this to you again, and again, and again, and again. That's the shelf dynamic. Of course, no individual would ever explain that to the victim, because most narcissists are unaware, and the aware narcissist would never explain that because it's giving away the power to the victim. Instead, victims are misled into believing that the individual was busy about something else, that they were perhaps not, I wasn't in the right space at that time. I had too much going on. Things were still undecided with my girlfriend at the time, and I needed space to sort all of that out. Or even a bit of blame shifting. Oh, I wasn't getting the right vibes from you. I didn't think you were interested in me. That's a good one, because then the victim is given an opportunity to go, oh, but I am. Giving fuel to the narcissist and signaling that you're under control. You're basically opening the door wide then to the narcissist by sending such a signal. People need to understand that zombieing, although it's a description, is far more than what it is explained. It is part of the narcissistic dynamic, and it is hoovering, and it is part of the shelf dynamic that occurs between narcissist and victim. But once again, so many people do not realise this. They think that it is something perhaps a little more benign. Annoying, sure. Hurtful, definitely. But they don't realise that this is the behaviour of somebody controlling them. And it will cause them to enter into, more likely, a continuing dynamic with this person when they should be running a mile from it. Why? Because they don't realise what they're dealing with. And once again, this is why it's important for you, listeners, to ensure that terms such as zombieing are identified as the behaviour of the narcissist of shelving, or the behaviour of the narcissist in terms of ghosting and hoovering. And that it is a narcissist that's doing that, and that the narcissist has no emotional empathy. And this is being done to control the victim, to take fuel from the victim, character traits and residual benefits. And it's part of the dynamic, and the only response to it is to go no contact. Because when you realise that you're dealing with a narcissist, you follow the first golden rule of freedom, which is once you know you go, you get out, and you stay out. Share this video. Educate people. Start letting the world realise that these euphemistic and misleading terms are problematic, and the real information needs to be shared. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.